It's the last week in June of 1989. The music is transitioning away from our one-hit wonders and pop hair bands. Sunday night television starts with The Mouse, and the list of movies is so loaded with blockbusters, I don't know how we saw them all. Hit that subscribe and like button and get ready. This Week in the 80s starts now. At the end of June in 1989, the movies had something for everybody. It really is an impressive list of awesome movies. Now, some of them didn't end up doing as well as they had planned, and some of them, in hindsight, were honestly pretty terrible. But for 80s movies, this is an awesome list. 13th in the box office was Twins. This is Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito as twins. Obviously, the premise is ridiculous, but it was a really fun movie. I loved it. Number 12, K9. That's Jim Belushi and the German Shepherd. Buddy cop movies are so 80s, it's crazy. And they kind of ran out of ideas for buddy cops, so then it became Buddy Cops and Dogs. Still a buddy cop movie. Number 11 was Pet Sematary. This is Stephen King's Pet Sematary. He actually sold the rights to the movie to George Romero in 1984 for 10 grand. I'd buy it now for 10 grand if you wouldn't mind. Pet Sematary did okay. Set in Maine, based in Maine. When he sold it to George Romero, one of his rules in the sale was it must be filmed in Maine. And it was. Number 10 was No Holds Barred. Now, this is Hulk Hogan playing a wrestler. Not really that much of a stretch. It would be like they made a movie about me and I had to play a really good-looking, funny guy. No Holds Barred is a ridiculously bad movie, and I love it. Number 9, his name is Dalton. You know exactly what that is. That's Roadhouse. That's Patrick Swayze at the Double Deuce. They got fat guys. They've got guns. They've got monster trucks. It's just so 80s. The whole idea behind it of a town coming down so hard on one bar owner because the other bar owner the premise is awful, but that's one of my favorite 80s movies of all time. No matter what Chase at the Cup to Cup podcast says, Roadhouse is fantastic. Number 8, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. This is Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder doing Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder things. One of them's blind, one of them's deaf. You know what? Those guys weren't for me. It just didn't resonate. But at this time, I was 16 years old. Like that, you know what? That's not even an excuse. I don't like Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor movies, but a lot of people do apparently. Number 7, Field of Dreams. People oftentimes give Kevin Costner a hard time for being Kevin Costner and making Kevin Costner type movies. Even Waterworld people didn't like, but I loved it. This one, Field of Dreams, is just one of the best movies ever made, let alone 80s movies. But for baseball movies, in my opinion, it's got to be number 1. And for Kevin Costner movies, it's probably right up there as well. If you build it, he will come. That's the quote, I think. We get it wrong all the time, but we try to get it right. Number 6 this week was Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. As you know, because you watch all my shows, right? I'm not really much of a old school Star Trek fan. I'm more of the next generation Star Trek fan, but this one did pretty well. Number 5, one of my favorite movies of all time, and I don't even particularly care for the subject. The subject is poetry, the movie Dead Poets Society. Robin Williams, as you know, is one of my favorites of all time, and this movie is right up there as well. It also has Josh Charles playing a really brazen Knox Overstreet. I learned a little bit from this movie. Don't go full-blown on a chick who barely knows your name. Got to make sure that she knows who you are before you really embarrass yourself trying to ask her out. But if you've seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen this movie, you have to see it. It's absolutely one of the best ever. And don't tell me you didn't have tears in your eyes when they all get up on their desks. That's all I'm going to say because someone might not have seen it. You go watch it and you tell me you didn't love that scene. Number 4, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Now, I'm an indie guy. Like I am a Temple of Doom, number 1. I am a Raiders, number 2. And then, I have a problem with The Last Crusade. And my problem is Sean Connery being cast in this movie because I don't know anything about Indiana Jones's father. All I know is that it's Sean Connery. That to me is a bad casting because the character itself is just Sean Connery. In my opinion, in my mind, Indiana Jones's father is Sean Connery. Now, Indiana Jones isn't Harrison Ford. He's Indy because Harrison Ford's amazing in this role because Harrison Ford was Indiana Jones before he was full-blown Harrison Ford. He wasn't just Han Solo also. So when you come to 1989 and this character's been around for 7 years, that's Indy. But his father, Sean Connery. They should have put someone else in the role. Number 3, Ghostbusters 2. Remember Ghostbusters, the original? It was awesome. This one was kind of weak. Like, I've probably only seen this one a couple of times. I've seen the original one 10,000 times, maybe 20,000 times, because the original Ghostbusters is everything. This one was just weak. Number 2, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. When they were first putting this one together, they called it Teeny Weenies. Good thing they changed the name of that. Now, they say that they took the name of the movie from a quote in it. And he does say to her, I shrunk the kids, but he doesn't say, honey, I shrunk the kids. So it's a little bit odd. Anyway, there's a few things about this movie. I just watched it yesterday, so I'm really on top of it. First of all, what's up with the relationship stuff? He's having a hard time with her. I'm pretty sure that in the original script or the original story, they really got into the fact that she's leaving him because he's a nut job inventor who's a super failure, and she's trying to make it in real estate. And they kind of play it up and they mention it sometimes, but they just kind of leave it there. It's really weird. There's a scene where they're sleeping in the Legos and the scorpion comes by, right? And the older sister runs away. She leaves her little brother there. What are you doing? You never leave your little brother. You never leave your little sister. Like, this was her chance to be the hero, and she scrammed. Terrible. When they were casting this movie, they tried to get John Candy as the role of Wayne. John Candy did not want to play the role of Wayne. That's okay. He suggested his buddy, Rick Moranis. The neighbor is played by Matt Frewer. You might not be familiar with the name Matt Frewer. He's kind of like a poor man's Jim Carrey before Jim Carrey was Jim Carrey. But when you're watching the movies that have Matt Frewer, or the TV shows, whenever you see Matt Frewer, there might be something in the back of your mind that's just saying, I know that guy. Like, I know that guy. I kind of recognize his face, and I definitely know that voice. I'm an 80s kid, and I can't pin him down. Who is he? And you look, and you're like, Matt Frewer. Well, that doesn't help. I've never seen anything with Matt Frewer in it that stands out. But what you have seen is his alter ego, Max Headroom. Matt Frewer was the voice and pretty much the face of Max Headroom. And that's pretty cool. Number 1 on the list is, in my opinion, the best Batman that there is. It's the original Batman from 1989 with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. They tried to get this movie filmed for many years. They had the script. They rewrote a little bit of it. They had different directors involved. At one point, Ivan Reitman was supposed to be doing it, and he wanted to cast Bill Murray as Batman and Eddie Murphy as Robin. How awful would that have been? Thank God they decided to ditch that and go with Tim Burton. Tim Burton at the time was a little bit of a controversial pick, especially with the comic book people. They couldn't believe that Tim Burton was going to be involved, considering Tim Burton just did Pee-wee's Big Adventure. We'll talk about that some other time. Heard any good jokes lately? It's my best Pee-wee impression. This movie, Batman, just took over the summer. I can remember I was out in California in 1989, and I remember my water bottle was a bat bottle. It had the bat logo on, and I had a Batman hat. I'm pretty sure I had at least 2 or 3 Batman shirts. Like, Batman was everywhere. I'm Batman. Now everyone's going to say, well, Heath Ledger was the greatest Joker, and he might have been. But this guy, this version of the Joker was my first version of the Joker. I knew he existed. I knew because, the Batmobile broke its wheel and Joker ran away, or whatever that Christmas song is. Like, everybody knows that the Joker existed, but this was the first time he was on the big screen for us. This is the first time we saw him as 80s kids of what the Joker really looks like as a human being. And it was awesome. So Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson became the story. Ken Basinger wasn't bad either. It's Sunday night. It's June 25th, 1989. What are you watching on television? Well, we're going to start this at 7 o'clock. Normally on my shows, I start at 8 o'clock, but Sundays were a little bit different. And the good shows really started at 7 o'clock. The difference between this week and a lot of the other weeks that I've done is we've got Fox on the list now. In 1989, they only had programming on Saturday and Sunday nights, but what programming it was. At 7 o'clock on Fox, you have the hour-long 21 Jump Street. Richard Grieco and Johnny Depp are keeping us entertained. ABC has Incredible Sunday. They were trying to bring back That's Incredible. They brought back John Davidson. Nobody really watched. Even with Tracy Gold involved, people still didn't care. CBS was pandering to the older folks with 60 Minutes. This is kind of how you found out what was going on with a little bit of in-depth reporting. My grandparents loved it. On NBC, we had The Wonderful World of Disney. Now, this is a show that I had watched for many years. At this point in time, in 1989, I was 16 years old. Like, I wasn't tuning in for The Ghost and Mr. Chicken or Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, but it was still a great show, and I'm glad that it existed. At 8 o'clock on NBC, we had Family Ties. At this point in time, Family Ties was over. We already did Alex Doesn't Live Here Anymore. It's one of the greatest endings of any show ever, but people still love Family Ties, so why not roll it out? It's the summertime. Let's put it on. Family Ties, 8 o'clock, NBC. Fox was giving us America's Most Wanted, one of the creepiest shows ever. CBS gives us Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury. And ABC tries to dip its toe into the Sunday night comedy with this show called Have Faith. Now, if you saw one of the 7 episodes and you remember it, congratulations to you. This show had nobody in it but Joel Higgins, who was the father on Silver Spoons. And it was on for 7 episodes. This was about a bunch of Catholic clergymen in a bad neighborhood in Detroit. Can't imagine why that failed. 8:30 comes around. Live and Let Die, the James Bond from 1973 is on. Fox gives us Married with Children. At 8:30 on NBC, we had Day by Day. This was your family comedy. It lasted 2 seasons. I don't know how it lasted 2 shows. It had Julia Louis-Dreyfus. It had Courtney Thorne-Smith. It had really bad plot lines, a poor script, and just nothing at all worth comedy. I watched one of the episodes recently, and what did I hear? Laugh track upon laugh track upon laugh track. When they have to tell you how often you have to laugh, it's bad news. 9 o'clock comes around. We've got movies, and Fox gives us the Gary Shandling Show, which was, who was it? It was Gary Shandling. I'm going to leave that in there to show you that I really do sometimes lose my mind. At 9 o'clock, everyone had movies on except Fox, which gave us the Gary Shandling Show. And at 9:30, Fox gave us the Tracy Ullman Show. The Tracy Ullman Show was sort of important to television history because that's where The Simpsons came from. In June of 1989, we're really starting to get away from the true 80s music. When I think of 80s music, I think of the one-hit wonders. I think of the hair bands. I think of the stadium rock. And, you know, I looked over this chart. I almost didn't do this week because I think the music is so bad. I don't really have much to say other than I didn't like that song. I didn't want to listen to that song, or I have no idea what that is. It was really difficult for me just to find things good to say about any of this. So I was listening to a lot of tapes and records at the time, but man, this chart is bad. I guess maybe that's why we all went to the movies. All right, let's do it. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because honestly, I don't have much to say. I'm just going to go down the list. And well, if you think I'm wrong, tell me in the comments, but boy, oh boy, here we go. You know, one more thing. You're going to recognize the bands and you might recognize the songs, but like none of these, I can't say none. Some of them are on some playlists that I have, but certainly not a lot of them. Here we go. Number 40, Dress for Success by Roxette. 39, I Like It by Dino. 38, Down Boys by Warrant. If it's not Cherry Pie, I don't want to listen to Warrant. I played this song twice. I never want to play it again. 37, Donny Osmond's on the list, Soldier of Love. 36, a one-hit wonder. Send Me an Angel 89, which was real life rehashing their old song, putting 89 on it and re-releasing it. Thankfully, they did. 34, Patience by Guns N' Roses. Even Guns N' Roses went soft at this time. He's whistling in this one. What are you doing? That's not 80s music. 33, Paul McCartney's on the chart with My Brave Face. This might be Paul McCartney's worst song that isn't a Christmas song. 32, John Harron with Cinch with Where Are You Now? Where are you now, John? Probably selling used cars out in Oklahoma because you certainly aren't doing any 80s revival stuff. 31, John Mellencamp. I love John Mellencamp music. Pop singer? Don't even know it. I'm not going to seek it out. 30 is the Bangles, Be With You. Come on, Susanna. Come on. 29, Bon Jovi with Lay Your Hands on Me. Now there's a stadium rock song. This one just starts out with that drum beat and it just gets going and man, does it rock. Thanks for having that one on the charts. Following that at 28 is Who Do You Give Your Love To by Michael Morales. Not me, brother. 27, Cuddly Toy Feel For Me by Roachford. 26, here's a one-hit wonder. See, we have to like really search to find them. So Alive by Love and Rockets. That's a good one. 25, I'll never say anything bad about Paula Abdul. Forever Your Girl. Thank you, Paula, for being on the charts this week. 24, Crazy About Her, Rod Stewart. Rod, please go away. Please just join Barry Manilow and get off my charts. 23, Benny Marones with Into the Night. 22, Stevie Nicks with Rooms on Fire. Number 21 is a fun one-hit wonder from Dream a Little Dream, Rock On by Michael Damian. 20, Cinderella. Cinderella's a good hair band, right? But Coming Home, that's not one for me. Number 19, Elvis Costello with Veronica. Elvis doesn't hit the charts very much. His songs were more popular in the 70s than they were in the 80s, but I'm a big Elvis Costello fan. I've seen him live only one time. His real name, by the way, is Declan McManus, if you didn't know. And I had a problem with Elvis Costello when I was a kid because I thought, dude, there's only one Elvis. Well, it turns out in my later life, there are two Elvises. And if you want to listen to some good Elvis Costello music, go buy his album Armed Forces. It's got the elephants on the front. It's fantastic. This song, Veronica, it's a good song. It's not one of my favorites or his best, but it's better than most everything else that I've covered so far. At number 18, two hard rockers went super soft with Close My Eyes Forever. I'm never going to say anything bad about Lita Ford, and Ozzy Osbourne's pretty cool too, but he's doing a duet with her, and it's soft. Typical June of 1989 on the charts. Number 17, The Doctor by the Doobie Brothers. Number 16, What You Don't Know by Expose. Number 15 gives us a one-hit wonder, Martika with Toy Soldiers. It's kind of a creepy tune, but it's all right. Number 14, I Won't Back Down by Tom Petty. This is a pretty good album by Tom Petty. You know, every time I listen to a Tom Petty song and I remember that he's no longer with us, I get disappointed knowing that I can't go see him live ever again. I saw him in 1989 with the Georgia Satellites opening up. It was supposed to be the Replacements, and I'm a huge Replacements fan. They got kicked off the tour for being jerks. Tom Petty was pretty awesome anyway, though. Number 13, Express Yourself, Madonna. Number 12, Cyndi Lauper. Hey, what do you got for us, Cyndi? I Drove All Night. Number 11, If You Don't Know Me By Now by Simply Red. You see what I mean? You see how soft this chart is? Like, I know all the words to If You Don't Know Me By Now, but it's not like I'm going to sit around and think to myself, you know what I want to listen to? I want to listen to some Simply Red. If it's on, I'll sing along with it, but I'm not seeking it out. Number 10, the top 10 should be awesome tunes, right? Like, let's go. This is going to show you how much not typical 80s this whole thing is. Number 10, Cry by Waterfront. Number 9, Natalie Cole, Miss You Like Crazy. Number 8, Every Little Step by Bobby Brown. I was going to say a bunch of nice things about this song and about Bobby Brown, but there's nothing good to say about Bobby Brown. Number 7, This Time, I Know It's For Real by Donna Summer. Number 6, The Wind Beneath My Wings from Beaches by Bette Midler. No. Number 5, good tune. Good Thing by the Fine Young Cannibals. I can dig it. Number 4. I suppose this... Okay, all right, you got me. Number 4 is absolute 80s. It is pure 80s, and you can't get around it. It's Milli Vanilli. A lot of people get on Rob and Fab for being lip syncers, and a lot of people... First of all, look at the rest of the chart. I mean, I could have been playing the triangle and reading poems that I wrote when I was 6, and I would have been in the top 40 this week. So Milli Vanilli kind of came along when there was a vacuum. There was a missing element. The missing was good music. So you know what? They're all right. Don't get on Rob and Fab. They were doing their job. They're making their money. One of them actually committed suicide because he couldn't handle it. Like, that's terrible. Be nicer to people. I say be nicer to people, and then I look at what number 3 is. It's Nena Cherry with Buffalo Stance. There are people who love this song. I know there are. I am not one of them. I'm going to leave it at that. Number 2, it's NKOTB. I'll Be Loving You Forever. My buddy Rhonda would love it that I'm talking about New Kids on the Block all these years long. I mention her once in a while whenever New Kids comes up. My buddy Rhonda was my lab partner in 1989, actually. And she's still a friend of mine, and Rhonda is fantastic. Rhonda, here I am, still talking about the New Kids for you. And number 1 on the charts this week, the top song in the Billboard 100, Satisfied by Richard Marx. Guys, I'm not even going to make a playlist of this for the channel. It's just, I'm not going to do that to you. Let's just forget all this happening. Let's go watch some of the movies instead. That's going to do it for me at the end of June in 1989. The movies were great. The TV shows were okay. The music was pretty bad. That's all right, though. We can't be perfect at everything we do, right? Hey, do me a favor, would you? Could you copy and paste this URL onto your Facebook and play this for some of your friends? I'm working hard to keep the 80s alive, and I need you to help me to let your friends know the 80s were the greatest decade ever.